Welcome to the Iron Self podcast, where we jump into health, fitness, mindset, and becoming the best version of yourself. Today with your hosts, Mike and Kayla Minion.
So for anybody who hasn't seen this before, this is just a nice little segment Kayla and I do generally on Mondays, unless the weekend has been an absolute gong show, to give you guys a little bit of a perspective into what we've been talking about with some of our clients this week in coaching.
Or this past week.
Well, that's what I mean, this week. Last week.
Maybe we should call it this past week in coaching.
Last week in coaching. Old news.
Jumping on in. All right, guys. So welcome to This Week in Coaching.
Last week in coaching.
For June 13th, 2022. We are excited to share a couple things with you. So we are talking exhaustion and feeling burnt out. And we are talking falling off track when we are outside of our normal routine, which I don't know about you guys, but coming into summertime, we're going to be a lot of the time outside of our normal routine, right? Because we don't have maybe all of the same parameters that we would normally have, the same activities, the same commitments.
That's what I was going to say is falling out of routine and kind of being off of our normal routine is about to happen for literally every person that has a school-aged child, because we are about to come into summer, and guess what happens in the summer? Routine is gone.
Well, and lots of people tend to travel more in the summer. They take more vacations. They do more outings. The weather is nicer. We don't want to be locked in our houses as much.
All the fun things, right? But this is where we start to dive into, what does that look like? How do we keep on our success, keep building on our successes, keep our journey going in the direction we want it to when life explodes?
Okay, so let's dive into exhaustion, because I think maybe if we tackle exhaustion, we might be able to tackle routine. Because you can't have a routine when you're exhausted. I mean, we tend to...
You can, but it tends to kind of go by the wayside.
It's a lot harder.
Yeah.
So exhaustion or feeling burnt out. So there's a couple things that you need to look at as to why you're feeling exhausted and why you're feeling burnt out. Because let me guess that you probably don't always feel this way.
Mm-hmm. So looking at kind of what is leading up to that. Have we been working more than we usually are? Have we been sleeping less than we usually do? Have we increased our activity level? What's changed?
Are we giving away more of our own time? Are we making more self-sacrifice and taking less time for ourselves to fill our cup? Are you noticing that your stress levels are much higher? And maybe your stress levels aren't higher, but maybe the stress that you're putting on your body is higher. So maybe you're working out more. Maybe you are eating less food because you're in a calorie deficit. There's lots of things that can lend way to feeling exhausted. But the biggest two that I really want to talk about today are going to be stress and sleep. Mm-hmm. Because I think those two tend to be where, when we make lifestyle adjustments, that's where we see the biggest success.
Yeah, 100%. So leading off, let's, which one do you want to start with? Stress. How stressed are you?
I don't ever experience
How stressed is everybody, right? I'm not stressed at all. No.
Check out our podcast episode on I'm okay, you're okay, we're all okay.
We're all okay. No, but it's true, right? So stress accumulates in our lives, regardless of which stage of our life we're in. Everybody from the students who are about to go on summer break, to the parents who are about to have students home for summer break, to the retired people who now have to look after more grandkids during the summer. Whatever that looks like, stress comes into our lives, and it comes in different forms for everybody. Now, stress is not always a bad thing, right? We need to be able to come in and out of stress. That is how we build resiliency within our lives. But being in a constant state of stress creates that fatigue. It creates a drain on our system in general, which can start to show up different ways in our lives. So I can tell you.
A lot of the time when we feel constantly stressed, I am itching to get in here. A lot of the time when we do feel constantly stressed and we are on edge all the time, that exhaustion just comes from constantly being on edge, from constantly being under a microscope, being stressed with our work, stressed with our children or our families, stressed with the chores that we have. That starts to just drain you. And when you feel like you could sleep forever, let me tell you that you are probably experiencing fatigue from chronic stress. When I ask a lot of clients, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed out are you on a regular basis? Most people tell me about a 4 or 5. And then when I ask them,
Start breaking it down.
how often throughout the day are you a 6, a 7, an 8, maybe even higher than an 8? Oh, well, not very often. Then if we get you to start, because you're suffering from chronic exhaustion, and you start tracking your days. Okay, well, maybe I'm going to set time intervals. I'm going to get you to track first thing in the morning, mid-morning, lunchtime, afternoon, dinner time, later in the evening. And you start tracking your stress and you go, actually, on average, I'm a 7-8 out of 10. If I live as a 7-8 out of 10, you better believe I'm going to be chronically exhausted, because it's hard to be on all the time. It's hard to operate at that level and be giving that much and not take that rest, come out of that stress state and build that resilience.
Yeah, 100%. So when we are looking at chronic stress, it can be anything, right? So stress can be, you could be stressed about work, right? You're going to work that day. What's happening at work today? Well, that starts to stress us out. And then you're trying to get your kids out the door in the morning to get them to school. Well, that can be a source of stress. Or you're trying to get out the door yourself to get to work, and that can be a stress. Your drive to work can be a stress. There are so many stressors throughout our day, and the crazy thing is, it doesn't matter how big or small that stressor is, your body responds in the exact same way. So knowing that every time we have these little stressful moments where it's like, oh, I'm stuck in traffic, and you feel your body tensing, your body doesn't know the difference between that and being chased by a lion in Africa. No word of a lie. So if this is the same stress response, it's pretty easy to see how that can be draining after a certain amount of time. So finding ways within our days to bring those stress levels back down is super important. Like Kayla said at the very start of this, what fills your cup? What actually do you get excited about? And when you leave that activity, whatever it is, you're feeling more energized. You're feeling like you're able to breathe a little easier, whatever that looks like. But finding the things in our day-to-day lives to help bring those stress levels back in check, right? Everybody's is different. Some people might like going for walks. Some people might like meditation or a hot tub or going to play sports or whatever that looks like. But finding things within your day to help you not only relieve the stress, but bring the enjoyment up, right? Find the things in life that give us more energy, that kind of boost our dopamine, our serotonin, like all of our happy emotions. Really does help to create that stress relief state.
Yeah, and a lot of our stress that we create for ourselves, that we are creating within our own mind, within our own mindset, within what it is that we are thinking and telling ourselves. So look at the story that you're telling yourself. I was listening to a podcast and I absolutely loved this way of kind of seeing how you can switch the story. So the guy was talking about, he was stuck in traffic and he was driving the car and he was mad because this person cut him off and then proceeded to go slower in front of him because they were in traffic, but still had to get in there. And I can relate to that because I've been in that situation where you're like, oh, like seriously. But the story I was telling myself was, that person's an asshole, that person cut me off. But what if you change that story? What if that guy really had to pee and he was trying to get to the closest bathroom and he just did not want to piss himself? If that's the case, that makes it hilarious. Like, hell yeah, get in front of me, please, sir. Like, get to the bathroom. I don't want you to wet yourself.
Don't want to do a pee-pee in your car.
But if that's now the story that I'm telling myself, regardless of it being true or not, I'm never going to know why that guy cut me off. But, hey, now I'm not stressed about it because, you know what, as a good human being, I would prefer him not to wet his own pants. You know, we don't know why people do things, and people don't always understand how they affect us. So when we begin to change the story that we're telling ourselves, the narrative that we've applied to it, that's where we begin to take back our power. That's where we begin to change that entire stress. Because if you watch Portrait of a Killer, on YouTube, which is an excellent documentary. Highly, highly recommend it if you are a nerd and you want some nerd stuff to go watch. Go watch Portrait of a Killer on
If you
there.
want to know what we get crazy with on a Friday night.
Absolutely awesome, awesome documentary. But what they show is that based on your status or your hierarchy in society, that's going to tell you how much stress that you're under just based on a regular basis, let alone what you've now created within that reality. So hierarchy dictates the amount of stress that you have. Then you also dictate it based on the story that you're telling yourself. We can't change where we're at necessarily within that hierarchy. I mean, you can get promotions in your job and all of those other things. Sure, you have a certain level of control, but it's a very minimal level. What you do have full control over, and this is where we talk about in our transformation program a lot of the time, is your circles of control. What do you have full control over? You have control over the narrative that you're telling yourself. You have control over how stacked you make your schedule. I think I was even just telling the kids last week, I'm like, gosh, I know we put you in soccer and swim lessons, but I don't like being this busy. COVID taught me that I just prefer, not as many activities, which for them, they were like, oh, okay, we don't want to overload mom's schedule. But I realized for me, what was important to me, and it was not feeling like I was constantly rushed, because when I feel constantly rushed, I feel that anxiety creep in.
Stress.
And for years and years, I suffered from chronic anxiety. What was it? It was really just chronic stress.
And a lot of it is self-imposed.
Self-imposed, right? What are the expectations you have for yourself and for others in the world around you? So like Mike said, finding that way to come out of that stress state, and be that on a weekly, a monthly, or whatever that basis is. Maybe daily you can practice breathing. Maybe weekly you can practice a yoga practice or a meditation or going
Play
for a
your
walk.
rec league.
Maybe you decide that on a nice day, you decide to walk around barefoot on the grass and do a little earthing to connect yourself back with the Mother Nature. Like whatever it is that helps you de-stress, to let go, do that.
Mm-hmm. At the very base level, I want to give you guys a breathing practice, because at the end of this, if we didn't give you anything, then I feel a little bit bad. So when you guys are in that chronic stress, when you guys are having a moment where it's like, everything is going wrong, life is exploding, I need to be able to regulate this.
That never happens to me.
What?
Never.
Except
I've never
every day.
experienced that.
So when you are hitting those points, just connecting with your breath, all right? So allowing the rest of the world to just kind of be for a couple minutes, find a nice quiet spot if you can. If you can't, maybe you're just putting headphones in without any music going and just kind of zoning into your own breathing and focusing on your breath. So we're only going to use our nose for this breathing, because when we're breathing through our nose, it activates our parasympathetic, our rest and digest, whereas when we're breathing through our mouth, that's our sympathetic. That is, holy shit, everything's going wrong. So we want to be breathing through our nose for our breathing exercises, and we're just going to do a box breathing exercise. So box breathing is quite literally, picture a box. A box has 4 sides, so this breath is going to have 4 parts. We are going to inhale for 3 to 4 seconds, and then we're going to hold our breath for 3 to 4 seconds. Then we're going to exhale for 3 to 4 seconds, and then we're going to hold our breath again after that exhale for 3 to 4 seconds. So in practice, this activates our parasympathetic nervous system. Those breath holds drop our heart rate, drop our blood pressure, and allow us to get into these relaxation states. This is one of the first breaths that we teach pretty much all of the athletes we work with, because being able to hit that parasympathetic, that recovery state, losing that stress quickly, especially when you're in between shifts, really does help you get ready for that next shift. So if it's going to help with that, when you're in these stress situations, regardless of what the stress is from, you got a lion chasing, you just start breathing. No. but the reality is, being able to come out of those stress states is super important. So again, 4-part breath. It is box breathing. A box is equal on all sides. So it is a 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold. And then you just repeat that. Do that for 5 minutes. You're going to be ready to go to bed. It's a beautiful thing.
Unless you're like mid-afternoon and you're like,
don't do it while you're driving.
The rest of the way.
Driving, passing out. No.
It's a great way to really drop that stress levels. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, the other thing we were going to touch on with exhaustion is sleep. Now, sleep is one of those things that you can't bank it. So I know we've all heard people talk about sleep in regards to like, oh, well, I just didn't get enough sleep, so I'm going to go to bed early tonight so I get more sleep. Or I overslept this weekend, or whatever that might be. You cannot bank sleep.
Can't get an extra 2 hours today because you'll get 2 hours less tomorrow. Doesn't work.
It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. It is part of our recovery process, and it's really important for our body. So when we are looking, and our mind, I mean, people don't often think about your memory storage.
Long-term memory storage.
Anyways,
yeah.
There's a lot to this. But setting yourself up for success with your sleep, finding a sleep routine that works for you. We tell all of our clients, stop eating 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. That allows your body that time to digest while you're awake, and it allows your body to begin to slow down. Most of your melatonin production is actually done in your digestive tract, and so we don't often think about that. So if I'm eating right up until the point I go to bed, then it might take me a little bit longer to fall asleep because my body is starting to try and still digesting, let alone making melatonin for me to fall asleep. So just something to think about. The majority of your melatonin comes from your digestive system. So if we stop eating a little earlier, we'll fall asleep a little bit better. Or do you have a routine that you've set yourself up? A bedtime routine. Do you watch TV before you go to bed? Maybe reducing that blue light. Maybe reducing the blue light from your phone and turning it to a nighttime mode.
Screens, tablets, phones. Either shutting them off or putting them into, like Kayla said, like that soft light, the nighttime mode. At least an hour before you go to bed, because if you are blue light right until you go to bed, if you're the type of person who sits in your bed and watches TV to fall asleep, starting to create new habits that might be a little bit more successful with your sleep. If you are somebody that I just described that sits there and watches TV and then you're like, I don't understand why I'm not sleeping very well. Your brain takes up to an hour to be able to shut itself down, to start regulating your hormones properly after experiencing blue light before going to bed. So if you are the typical person that falls asleep with that TV on, your first at least hour of sleep is going to be spent just trying to regulate your hormones to get to sleep better. So again, you're kind of delaying that deep sleep, that REM sleep cycle. Same thing as digestion. When your body is spending its energy digesting food when you're starting to sleep, instead of getting you into these deeper sleep states, it just takes longer to hit those sleep states, which means you get less of the benefit of that recovery with your sleep.
So finding a bedtime routine that takes you to wind down in the evening, dimming the lights in the evening, will help to create that circadian rhythm within your body. So, maybe you're not sitting at the kitchen table or whatever with a couple hours before bed with the bright lights on. Maybe you dim them. Maybe you just have a lamp going, whatever
Some
that
mood
is.
lighting.
Just slowing down that lighting in the evening will help calm your body as well. And it helps actually notify your brain that it is evening.
It's time to sleep, baby.
That's the whole idea with the blue light as well. So finding that routine, setting up your bedroom so that you can sleep successfully, and then waking at roughly the same time each day will create that nice, wonderful circadian rhythm. When you wake, you want to spend anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes with bright light. This is maybe where you do spend some time scrolling on social media on your phone, or maybe you spend some time outdoors, but getting that bright light first thing in the morning will help even more with that circadian rhythm. So that our brain knows our sleep-wake cycle. Our brain is so efficient, it doesn't want to have to always think about what the next process is. So if you're a person that regularly goes to bed at midnight and you're like, oh, I don't understand why I can't make it to bed before midnight. I will tell you right now, 100%, it is the routine that you've set yourself up with.
Habits and routines.
When you start changing that routine, you will notice a change in your life. Now, no routine change ever is easy. It does not come without inconvenience, and it comes with difficulty. When you try to change that routine, there's going to be difficulty. Maybe you might not fall asleep right away. Maybe you're going to, toss and turn a little bit more. But I promise you that over time of changing that routine, you will set yourself up better when you get that circadian rhythm working well for you.
Yeah. So sleep routines. When we are talking routines, something that we always preach is sleeping like a baby. So you would never put your kid in a bright room with a TV on, with loud music playing, or whatever that looks like. As we age, we tend to kind of get away from our sleep routines that we've had since we were babies. So sleep like a baby, people. You need to be in a dark room, preferably a little bit cooler. I know Kayla hates hearing that because she loves cuddling up in the warmth. But yeah, cold, dark, quiet. Some people like white noise machines. I can't stand it, but whatever works for you.
I do have awesome whale noises though.
No, she makes whale noises. She's legitimately done that before. I'm sleeping, I'm trying to fall asleep, and she's like, I'll give you the calming sounds of the ocean. That is what I married.
That is the
love her.
orca.
Yeah.
That is the orca. And occasionally you might get the foghorn too.
The blue whale shows up.
Anyways, don't buy our Sounds of the Ocean. Just don't do that.
You don't want that CD.
So yeah, setting yourself up for success with your sleep routine will help you feel less exhausted when your body is getting the rest it needs, the recovery it needs. The other thing I want to touch on with exhaustion, my friends, is how are you nourishing your body? I will tell you right now, post-competition, I was eating super clean pre-comp. Post-comp, it's been a little hit and miss. I've had a little treats. I have felt more exhausted now than I did when I was working out 2+ hours a day. And the reason for that is the sugar and the processed food makes me feel sluggish. It makes me feel chronically tired. There's no pot of coffee in the world that can hit this amount of fatigue. Mm-hmm. So if that is the case for you and you are noticing I am suffering from chronic fatigue, tidy up that diet a little. Increase your whole foods. Decrease your sugar consumption. Decrease your processed food consumption. And I promise you will notice a change in your energy levels when your body is getting the nutrients that it needs.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you need to be 100% clean. I don't need any sugar. I don't need any, processed food. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is take a good stock at your list. And are you eating a protein bar every day? Are you eating chips every day? Are you eating, rice or potatoes out of a package? Where is your food coming from? Are you having cereal for breakfast? Like, these are the things that you might be setting yourself up for failure for in regards to your exhaustion levels.
Yeah. In
regards to other goals, we can talk about those with other goals. But exhaustion, look at your stress, look at your sleep, look at your food.
Yep. And again, with your food, the big thing between processed and added sugar foods is that it plays a lot with your insulin levels, so that you're getting spikes and rises in your blood sugar levels, which creates a ton of energy followed by a crash, followed by a ton of energy followed by a crash. And
caffeine does the same thing.
Yeah, and people get into these cycles and they're like, oh, I don't understand why this is happening. And it's like, take a look at what you're fueling your body with. If we're eating more rice and more potatoes and more pastas, more of the, I'm going to call them slow burning, like the longer lasting carbohydrates in your system, it kind of regulates those blood sugar levels a lot better than when we're having those high sugar and those highly palatable, highly processed foods that create these spikes and valleys in your insulin levels, in your blood glucose levels, which creates those hunger cues, which creates the lack in energy, which kind of leaves you feeling sluggish. So like Kayla said, maybe just cleaning up the diet a little bit along with creating a bedtime routine can really help you with that exhaustion.
If you're ready to make a change in your life, step into the best version of you, check out our Iron Self Transformation Program. Find more info on our website, www.ironbodycoach.com.
So I think we beat exhaustion to death right now. So we are going to jump into falling off track
when you're
out of your routine. And what does that look like? So how many people have been absolutely crushing their goals for a certain amount of time? Everything feels good. You're doing amazing. And then something happens. Whatever that is, right? Everybody. Everybody has, right? Life happens. And we get that. It's not... You can't stop living your life because you have goals, right? You got to be able to enjoy yourself to a point at all times in your life. Or else what's the point of it, right?
Everything's about choices. And I think that is where our power lies. When we look at everything as rigid, as this is my track to get to my goal, and this is what I have to do to get there, you also need to know that nobody is holding a gun to your head saying, hey, you have to achieve this goal. Everything, you made a choice to set that as your goal, and everything that you do in order to achieve that is a choice made by you. You hold the power for achieving that goal and how long it's going to take you to get there. Mm-hmm. Lots of people want immediate results right now, but when we have to make certain choices and adaptations in our life, maybe that means that we're going to delay our results, and that's okay. There is no thing in this life that says you must achieve this goal by this date. You can keep pushing back that date if it fits better for your life and your lifestyle, but taking a good hard look at what is the life and the lifestyle that I want, and does this goal fit into that life and lifestyle? Because when we start looking at, especially in our transformation program, we talk about cultivating your life, creating the life that you want. And when you look at the version of you that is achieving this goal and what that person has to do to achieve it, to maintain it, to keep it going, is that
the lifestyle you want?
Is that what you want?
And being honest with yourself.
Does it hold merit?
Yeah, no, I love that. So what do we do when we fall out of routine then, right? Because again, the summer is coming, people. Everybody who's watching this, everybody who's listening to this after the fact, the summer is coming. Routine is about to be blown apart for the next couple months. So what does that look like? How do we create success when we are out of our routines? Maybe it just means that we're committing really hard to one thing, right? We always talk about that within our programming. What is the one thing we want to commit to? If diet seems like it's going to be really hard to commit to over the summer because you want to be able to experience all these events, that's okay. Maybe it means that we're going to increase our activity. Maybe we say, hell, we're bulking for the summer. We want to put on some muscle, so I'm going to put my focus into my workouts. Great. Or if you know that you're not going to have time for workouts because you're the type of person who loves to be outside experiencing all that life has to offer in the summer with your friends, maybe we're putting more of the focus into the diet or the mindset side of things.
Or different kinds of movement.
Right? So maybe we're just tweaking what we're doing. But I guess one of the biggest things is kind of looking at what's your backup plan. Because you've made a plan. You have an idea of how you can create success within your life, within your goals. But maybe because the summer's coming, maybe because if this is outside of the summer, maybe because life is about to happen, right? Things are changing. Mm-hmm. So what does that backup plan look like? It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be the exact same as your main plan, but what does that look like for you in your life?
100%. 100%. We talk about fallback plans all the time. So you might have a plan A, but what is your plan B, C,
What's
D,
B
E, and
through
F?
Z? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when we have a different plan to go towards, that's going to help us navigate situations. Maybe we have forethought. We know that routine is going to be disrupted. So maybe I'm scheduling in my workouts, or I'm making sure that I'm picking healthier choices. I say healthier. What is the best option? I want to go to a restaurant. I don't go out to a restaurant very often. I want to cook something or enjoy something that I wouldn't cook for myself. So I will tell you, I'm not the person that normally orders a salad if I go to a sit-down restaurant, because I can make myself a salad at home for a fraction of the price, and I'm cheap.
Way better.
But I also know that I don't normally make myself a hamburger when I go to a restaurant. And then I look at all the yummy hamburgers and I'm like, oh, well, they all have cheese and bacon and all the fixins and all that wonderful stuff. Now, maybe that is an option for you. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also recently discovered that I didn't notice whether there was or wasn't cheese on a burger. I was like really torn about that because I was like, what do you mean a burger without cheese? But I also didn't notice that. So starting to look at it is like, what else am I willing to change? Okay, well, I'm going to have a burger. Maybe I'm willing to go without the bacon and the cheese. Still enjoy the burger. That's the whole point. Have all the other fixins on there. But that is my little bit better. And maybe I'm going to eat less food early in the day to make room for that, or accommodate something else in my journey. So having those fallback plans when you are out of routine, making sure that you're stocking your ladies, your purses, men, your vehicles, those, or
your
even
man purses.
Men purses, Merce. But stocking it with healthier snacks or alternatives that will help you be successful, knowing that hunger isn't an emergency, setting yourself up where you are letting your support network know, hey, these are my goals, this is the direction I'm going. So I need to be successful in this. So sharing that, hey, I know I can't go to the gym on a Saturday. I didn't make it every day this week, but I'm going to let my friend or my spouse know, hey, I need to go for a walk this weekend because I didn't get that in.
Yeah, no, I love that. And because we just touched on exhaustion and stress, I do want to put this out there too. If you are going to your backup plan, do not stress about this. This is why you created your backup plan. This is why we knew that, we might fall off track, but we already had this plan. Mm-hmm. So creating stress around that, if you're like, ooh, I got to go to my backup plan, it's causing me so much stress. It's like, no, this is where we get to let that go. We created this plan for these moments. We created this successful version of ourselves within this backup plan because we knew that we might have an off moment. For me, my backup plans that I have created are for when I get injured. It's not if. I know at some point in my future, I'm going to push myself too hard in some aspect, whether it's when I'm out hiking, whether it's in the gym, whatever that looks like. Inevitably, I will do something to myself, and my backup plan includes meditation, it includes yoga, it includes more stretching, it includes getting in to see my chiropractor, making that space for myself, because I know how mean I am to my own body. We lift stupidly heavy things in the gym. We know that we do that, so having a plan for if and when things might go a little bit awry is super important, because again, if I hurt my shoulder, if I hurt my leg, whatever that looks like, if I've injured myself, rolled my ankle, broke my ankle when I'm hiking, it doesn't mean I'm going to sit on my ass until I'm healed. It means I have a plan for, I'm going to be stretching more. I'm going to be working on my mobility. I'm going to be working on the strength in the areas of my body that I still can. Mm-hmm. Having that plan, having a way to work around whatever comes up in your life is super important.
And it's really also looking at, where is your stressors coming from around this falling out of routine? So maybe it's a fear of missing out. So you're out at a friend's barbecue or whatever, and you have this fear of missing out. So you want to partake in the food or the drinks that come with that activity. That's okay. Like, we have to live our lives as well, but also asking yourself, what is more important, engaging in this activity or my goals? And sometimes our goals are not as important as the relationships, the friendships, and the experiencing, and knowing that that is okay. This is a choice that I am making. I will make different choices tomorrow. I might make different choices leading up into this point, but at the end of the day, it is my choice. And if this is a fear of yours, I'm afraid of missing out, I will tell you one thing right now. Your friends don't give a crap about what you eat. I have never looked at somebody's plate and been like, whoa, that's what you're eating?
Unacceptable.
Or that is what you're not eating, or whatever that is.
One of my favorite things is when we run into clients at restaurants, or if we see clients out at events, like we had a barbecue this weekend, or not a barbecue, but the golf tournament. You see our clients out there and they're like, oh, yeah, this isn't what I would normally... I'm not judging you, man. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. Right? Like, you will never hear the judgment coming from us because we get it. We live this life too. You got to be able to enjoy yourself.
There is a difference too, and this is where sometimes... You look stunned. But this.
Sorry, I'm reading a comment.
That's okay. There is a difference too about being a coach and when I'm wearing my coach hat and when I'm wearing a friend or a family member hat. And those are different hats, and know that I do navigate both of them. So if I am out at an event like the golf tournament, we'll give an example where we have lots of the community there and those kinds of things. I'm not wearing my coaching hat at that moment. I'm not looking over at
Fun Kayla's here.
People. Yeah, but I'm not looking at people and judging them. I'm saying, here, how can, this is the time we're going to experience this. I hope you're not judging me in return. But this is all about the relationships and establishing community and establishing memories and all of that kind of stuff. Now, can I not have memories by not sacrificing my goals? Of course, you can still make memories and not sacrifice your goals. But you need to understand the balance, and you need to understand what you are willing to do right now to get you to your goal. And knowing that sometimes what we're willing to do right now, what we're willing to give up right now, might not get us the fastest way to our goal. But getting to your goal is not linear. It is a roundabout process.
It's a journey.
It is a journey. So just knowing that it is about the journey.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. I know that we are getting questions coming through.
Questions will be answered next week, just so you know. And we'll probably just reach out in DMs anyways.
Next week in coaching. No, yeah. So
this week in coaching. Next week.
If you guys have questions that you want answered on This Week in Coaching, please send them through to us. We will answer them the following week, because that way we have time to make sure that we address them right at the beginning, and that you are getting the most out of this conversation. Anyways, have an amazing rest of your day.
Enjoy your Monday, people. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.